This video contains depictions of ED. If you're sensitive to the subject, please feel free to skip the video. If you or a person you know are struggling, please refer to the page www.wannatalkaboutit.com. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Hello and welcome back to The Regretful Penguin. I'm Wanty1 and today we dive into the world of Piglet by Lottie, hazell, help me. A novel which was thrown at my face not by my social media feed for once, but by my go-to bookstore. This video is a reflection of my own opinions, so please take it with a grain of salt. Also, there will be spoilers as usual, so if you want to read the book, feel free to skip this review. Picture this. I live in Central Europe, so the choices of books written in English is quite limited unless I ask Jeff Bezos to deliver them at my door or on my Kindle. But I usually prefer to go in person and stare at the wall for minutes on end, blocking the view of other people who want to check the books, as well as complaining if anyone is blocking my view. I know, I'm terrible. Picture me staring at the wall of the new publications. There's Bride by Hallie Hazelwood, Anna O by Matthew Blake, Murder on Lake Garda by Tom Hindle, I think. And that's what I remember. But there was also Piglet by Lottie, hazell. Hazel, I haven't understood yet how to pronounce it. And it's scrumptious donuts on the cover. It had already tickled my imagination the time before I actually bought it, because look at it! I'm sorry for the Australians out there who have an apple on the cover, you got the shorter end of the stick. The donuts popped me and I bought the novel, while I was watching my wallet crying, but anyway. Piglet was first published in the UK in 2024 by Doubleday, and in the US in 2024 by Henry Holt & Co. It holds an average rating of 3.65 based on circa 3,300 ratings. The thread of the novel is control and how it affects every aspect of our lives, and meeting the expectations that we and other people set on ourselves. The main character is Piglet, whose real name is only revealed once in the whole story. She lives in Oxford and commutes every day to Paddington, London, where she works as cookbook editor for a publishing house. At first I thought that Piglet was an endearing nickname given on the base of the Winnie the Pooh character, but silly me. No, Piglet is named Piglet because of her body size and morbid love for food. Not to mention that her father cuts the bullshit and calls her Pig straight away. An attempt to derive a nickname from Piglet? Dead of the year right there. So anyway, she and her family come from Derby, which is an industrial city in the East Midlands, opposed to her fiancé, Kit, or Kitty Cat, as his Real Housewives of London mother calls him. Give me a break, really. Who comes from Oxford and has an upper middle class background. Now, I don't know anything about the posh scene in Oxford. I only know Oxford because of shoes, university, and Florence Pugh. I also don't know much about Derby except for shoes and sports. But Kit's parents, Richard and Cecilia, are extra snobbish and horrible in general. The funny thing is that Oxford and Derby shoes are basically the same thing, just that the Oxford shoes have their parts with the shoelace eyelets sewn under the vamp, whereas a Derby shoe has them sewn over the vamp. As far as I understand, this makes Oxford shoes tighter than Derby shoes. I found it to be a nice parallel between Kit's Oxfordian family and Piglet's parents. More on that later. Maybe the curtains were just blue, but anyway, I just wanted to give my interpretation. The story is structured so that it represents a countdown to Piglet and Kit's wedding. At first, everything goes smoothly. Piglet is eager to marry this man who's too good to be true. They invite some friends over for dinner, and in these passages we get the chance to enjoy beautiful descriptions of meal preparations. Piglet is very serious about her cooking. Following a recipe brings her calm, it's her way to bring order to chaos, and whenever something is not done the way it's supposed to or the way she thinks, she gets frustrated. Now I know why I like this book. Piglet is me? Love for food? Check! You guys, I've decided to treat myself with a burger this week, and I cannot tell you it's a constant thought since I've made this decision. It's embarrassing. Hello peeps, it's 21 from the future and I haven't got the chance to eat the burger I wanted because the place was too full. Now I cranky, but let's move on. Yeah. Perfectionist and control issues, check. And I don't mean it like this weird thing that people say at job interviews like, my flaw is that I work too much, to feel better about themselves. When I say that perfectionism is not a good quality, I mean it. It gets you only so far, then you're stuck in a loop of, oh no, I put pasta before salt in boiling water, now my dish is ruined, kind of thing. Learning from mistakes, good. Putting up a tragedy if things don't go as planned, bad. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Jeez. Here we met the friends of the couple, the much irrelevant Sam and Sophie, friends of Kit, and the very much relevant Margot and her wife Sasha. Margot is pregnant, by the way, and Piglet is afraid that she'll be thrown out of the spotlight when the baby will come. Spoiler alert, she throws herself out. Some time passes, Piglet gets the chance to go for a promotion at work, which she feels obligated to take, but I'm not really sure she wants it. We get to the turning point of the novel. 12 days before the wedding, Kit reveals that he did something. We're not lucky enough to know what he exactly did, which is really bad for people like me who are really curious, but he did something so unspeakable that makes Piglet's world crumble. This got me thinking, what can be so unspeakable? Because my true crime mind thought of the worst. Maybe he had a hidden partition on his PC. I don't want to elaborate on that. Go Google Josh Duggar. But later on, the narrator mentions that he gave in to his pleasures or something, so I just sighed in relief. Nothing completely wicked here. But still, cheating on your to-be wife is not cool. I mean, that was my deduction. I don't know if it's right. I mean, if you asked me, dear Piglet, I'd have told you that Kit is a walking red flag just by pointing out that he decided on your behalf to spend the weekend after your wedding with Sophie and Sam in the Swiss Alps. Swiss Alps, beautiful, sure, just don't eat in an auto grill. But a double date vacation right after the wedding? I'll pass. 12 days is too late to call off the wedding and wouldn't be appropriate to Piglet's perfection mania. Piglet cares so much about what people think of her. Besides, after all the money that her parents spent on her gown, she'd feel really awful. And how does she unleash her guilt? With binge eating. Her experience started back in the teenage days when she discovered that her sister Franny was hiding food in their room and letting it rot. In that precise moment, Piglet promised her sister that she'd eat the food for her, installing the trauma that accompanies her still to date. So Piglet goes to a restaurant and orders every item on the menu. The waiter was like, I suggest this, and Piglet was like, no, you don't understand, you bring me one of every item on the menu. Assuming that one item has an average of 500 calories, and how many items are there on a menu? Let's say 10. A whopping total of 5,000 calories, which is more than the BMI of 2 average men, or half of what The Rock eats in a day. What happens when you eat in a calorie surplus? You gain fat weight, which has a higher volume. And what happens when you eat in a calorie surplus before the last fitting of your wedding gown? Yes, we witnessed this scene with poor Piglet trying to fit in a wedding gown which is too tight for her, and her mother being like, no, you're gonna fit for the love of me, let me just help, making Piglet's frustration go through the roof and snapping at her. On top of that, Margot is also there and goes into labor out of nowhere, so there's also that. Well, okay, not completely out of nowhere because she is very much preggo, but I mean, what are the chances? Well, I guess they're high at 8 months, so okay. Oh man, my girl Piglet can catch a break. Poor thing. Anyway, Piglet takes Margot home and Margot is in high pain and asks Piglet to keep her distracted. And Piglet goes, hey, Kid did this not cool thing and I'm marrying him in a few days. And Margot, why the fuck are you telling me this now? I don't know, you asked me to tell you something. Margot is the only one with a bit of sense left in her mind because she tells Piglet to call off the wedding, otherwise she won't be coming. Piglet is devastated by her friends blackmailing, so she says, okay, bye. After this episode, things unravel even more. Piglet has issues at work because she feels forced to take the promotion, but at the same time, she feels ignored by her workplace. So she goes to this restaurant and orders every burger on the menu, but she gets caught by her colleagues and she starts feeling dead inside. The relationship with Kit keeps getting strained by the hour. The day before the wedding, she has the chance to spend one last night with her family and have some fun like in the old days. Because of this, Piglet starts rethinking her life choices and confesses to her father what Kit had done. Instead of, "Baby girl, let's go punch him in the face and call off the wedding," you can get better than this. This hard-boiled egg burp of a father tells her, "Yeah, shit happens, but stop crying, smile, because marriage is made of compromise." "Yeah, but..." No buts, go to sleep, you're getting married tomorrow. I'm sorry, I want to take time to apologize to you viewers because you'll have to endure the fact that I'll overuse the hard-boiled egg burp joke till the end of times. Also, if that wasn't enough, another thing Piglet needs to worry about is her wedding cake. Bad decision if you ask me, but she wants to be in charge of her wedding showstopper. 3 croquembouche towers to be smashed afterwards. If you don't know what a croquembouche is, it's a tower of cream puffs filled with a cream of some sort and glued together with caramel, then decorated with caramel candy floss. Something easy peasy and not at all challenging, even for pro chefs. Yeah, right. The problem with the croquembouche is that it needs to be done within a few hours from the reception because cream puffs hate humidity and so does caramel. So Piglet wakes up at like 4 or something on the day of her wedding to prepare these towers. And friends, let me tell you, the passage describing the preparation of the croquembouche is more thrilling than the thrillers that I've read these months. Fuck The Quiet Tenant, fuck A Flicker in the Dark, fuck The Silent Patient. No idea why people like this one so much, but anyway. This is the real shit. This is what I mean when I say that I want to be kept on the edge of my seat. I mean, I predicted that things wouldn't go according to Piglet's master plan, but man, if you end up using glue gun to build the croquembouche tower because the caramel didn't come out as expected, girl, you have a problem. What was wrong with a sponge cake with buttercream or a tart or, don't know, just put your pride aside and order a fucking cake from a bakery? It's not that her family didn't advise her. Oh well, at least we got a good thrilling passage. Not to mention that the wedding gown is yet another problem because Piglet promised to fast before the wedding, but needless to say, she didn't manage to do it. So the croquembouche mess is followed by the wedding gown fitting mess. Also, I know this may come off as unsolicited advice, but I don't recommend fasting before a wedding because if anything, it does worse than good in the long run. Piglet's mother and sister tried to stuff her in the gown, which made me question why not go for a dress with strings instead of buttons, since it would be easier to tie and adjust even in case of weight gain, but maybe she didn't like it or she wanted to please the crowd. I'm asking questions that don't necessarily have an answer, or the answer is just, it's like that because otherwise we wouldn't have a story, which is also good. Piglet gets hungrier and hungrier. At this point, she basically loads her husband. I loathe him too because other than being horrible, he keeps guilt-tripping Piglet into accepting his mistakes. After the ceremony, it's photo time, but Piglet doesn't give a shit and runs to the kitchen, where she asks for something to eat. She says that food doesn't betray you and it's always there to comfort you, unlike people. She dirties her gown, which is now in rags. Then she goes to the reception and during the speeches, she completely lets it go and reveals what Kit did. The reader still doesn't know at this point, but everybody has their jaw on the floor, so it must be something terrible. Since Kit doesn't face criminal charges, I'm still assuming he didn't keep his eggplant where it's supposed to say. What I liked about this part is the complete loss of control by Piglet. She starts eating everything in sight, smashing the croquembouche towers and eating the cream puffs that were safe from glue. The thing is, Piglet regains her life by losing Rip. In that very moment, she acts free from prejudice, not caring about what other people think of her. Now, I believe she should have cut off the wedding before getting to this absolute disaster, or go about it differently, like being a runaway bride fleeing to Mexico, I don't know. But maybe it was necessary for her to reach the deep bottom in order to rebuild her world. Maybe it was necessary to demolish the house that was beyond repair. Her mom still has the nerve to say poor kid. I mean, poor kid my ass, mom. I mean, you can scold your daughter for manners, you can scold her for everything else, but Kid is not a good man. Piglet dodged the bullet, and you can't blame her for not forgiving him because forgiveness is not something the perpetrator or anybody else except the victim has decisional power on, period. The book ends with Piglet visiting Margot and her newborn and fixing her friendship with her, and with Piglet meeting Kit at their shared house to talk about how to move forward. At least he'll see if he can get the marriage annulled. She's cooking for herself and he has the nerve to ask if she's also cooking for him. No, as far as I am concerned, you can starve, bitch. And that was it for Piglet. I adored the story because, other than being well written, it resonated with my experience. Piglet is not the classic likable character, but instead a woman in her 30s struggling with discerning her own will from societal demands, and using binge eating as a coping mechanism with all the consequences it entails. I'll leave some reviews on Piglet in the description down below, so you can get more points of view. Thank you so much for your time spent with me, be safe and always take care of yourself. Ciao!